The first tendrils of doubt unfurled through Admiral Kresh's mind like a venomous vine. It started as a mere flicker on the periphery of his tactical display, a sensor ghost at the edge of the fleet's long-range scanners. Glitch, pronounced Captain Verac, his voice a rumble that echoed Kresh's own instincts. Kresh forced agreement. It had to be a malfunction. The Terran fleet, blockaded in their pitiful home system, had been shattered at the Battle of Sirius 9 cycles ago. Any survivors were smoldering debris drifting through the void. Yet, as he narrowed his focus, the doubt bloomed. The contact was too specific to be dismissed, as lights flashed, seemingly at random, from the dark edge of the system. It was a human code, an impossible code. It was the specter of the 42nd Strike Fleet, the vanguard of the Terran Navy. When the Terrans first emerged from their backwater world, the galaxy barely took notice. A species so limited, tethered still to their single planet, couldn't be a threat. But Terrans had an insidious tenacity. They learned fast, too fast, and they always punched above their weight. Then came the Proxima War, a border skirmish that spiraled into a bloody testament to Terran resolve. They were outgunned, outmaneuvered, their technology still fledgling compared to established galactic powers. Yet the Terrans held the line, their losses staggering, their stubbornness staggering more. Kresh, like many, had dismissed them as maddened mammals willing to fight to their own extinction. He'd been wrong. When the dust settled on Proxima, the galaxy faced a Terran race hardened, their technology evolving at an alarming pace. Worse, they had an unnerving understanding of the enemy's psyche. No longer content with defense, the Terrans struck back. The Sirius campaign wasn't a war, it was a calculated slaughter. The ambush at Sirius Prime shattered the Krelliac Fifth Fleet, and with it, their morale. It was Kresh's victory, yes, but it came at a price that gnawed at the edges of his certainty. Terrans weren't supposed to be this good. Now, here they were again, ghosts haunting the Sirius system they'd died defending. Another sensor glitch. He strained his eyes. No, there were more blips, a disorganized array of ship signatures materializing from the ether. Admiral Verac's voice was thick, dripping with disbelief. It's the 42nd. It's really them. Kresh watched as impossible ships resolved into chilling reality. They were wrecks, battered hulls wreathed in distortion fields that shimmered like a heat haze. The flagships, once gleaming symbols of Terran might, were little more than drifting skeletons. Spectral energy discharges rippled across their ravaged forms, as though the ships themselves were barely clinging to the material realm. But the Terrans were never known for their pristine technology. His comm system crackled. "This is Admiral Thorne of the 42nd," a voice rasped, warped and overlaid with a hiss of static that sent a shiver down Kresh's spine. "Remember Sirius, Krelliac? We do." Kresh couldn't deny it, fear clawed at his composure. Thorne was supposed to be dead, vaporized along with his ship. What he faced wasn't a counterattack, it was a haunting. "Engage at will," barked Kresh, urgency masking his unease. The Krelliac fleet surged forward, weapons flaring. The Terrans should have been outmatched, outgunned, out of their minds. They weren't. The 42nd vanished. Not retreated, not jumped, they simply blinked out of existence like a faulty transmission. Kresh's battleships fired blind, energy beams carving futile paths into empty space. And then the ghosts were back, not head-on, but flickering in and out on the flanks, between ships within firing arcs. Their tactics were chaos made manifest. They phased in long enough for ragged volleys of torpedoes, then vanished before the Krelliac could return fire. Shield generators whined under the strain. Vessels veered wildly to avoid collisions with their suddenly intangible foes. It wasn't a battle, it was a maddening dance with death. Shields failing on cruiser Vrelic, came a panicked cry from the comms. "There. They're coming through the hull, sir." Kresh stared in horror as the Vrelic's image flickered. Human figures shimmered into existence inside the cruiser, battle-scarred, faces gaunt and eyes burning with a terrible light. The ship exploded from the inside out, the spectral Terrans vanishing as the fireball bloomed. It was as if the 42nd were wielding the afterlife itself as a weapon. The Krelliac, proud warriors of a vast empire, were now prey, and the hunters were the ghosts of their own victims. Fear spread faster than any plasma blast. Thorn. Kresh hissed the name like a curse. What did they do to you? What are you? The comms crackled again, Thorn's distorted laughter echoing through the bridge. We're the price of victory, Kresh. We saw a truth at Sirius that to beat you, we had to become something more than human. Now, we're the echo of your sins. The battle, if it could still be called that, deteriorated into a nightmare. The Krelliac fleet, renowned for its discipline, disintegrated under the unending assault. Ships crippled themselves trying to evade unseen attacks, while others went eerily silent, their crews likely slaughtered by the specters phasing through their walls. Kresh watched his command disintegrate, the cold knot of fear in his gut twisting into a burning fury. He wouldn't let these phantoms break him. Signaling his flagship, he bellowed a last, defiant order ready the singularity drive, ramming speed. If they were going to die, Kresh would make sure the ghosts of the 42nd died with him. The flagship shuddered as it poured all power into the exotic drive, the fabric of reality warping around the bow. He locked onto the largest cluster of Terran signatures. They couldn't evade this. They were already dead, weren't they? But Thorn was the stuff of legends now. Just as the singularity drive reached criticality, Kresh found himself staring not at spectral ships, but into the heart of a blue-white star. The 42nd had somehow dragged them into a stellar corona, the searing heat already licking at the ship's shields. Clever bastards, Kresh breathed, a flicker of twisted admiration amidst the rage. His flagship disintegrated moments later, consumed by the merciless fire of a star. But in its final destructive act, there was a flicker, a dozen ghostly Terran vessels vanishing in the distance. As Kresh's essence frayed into the cosmic blaze, he knew this was only the beginning of the legend of the 42nd. They were the specter of defiance now, and hauntings have no end.